Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the TEV Podcast, where we represent the truth, entertainment, and value. I'm your co-host, Calvin, and I'm with my brother,
Chris Daly.
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm.
And we are here, and we are in the building, and we have a lot to talk about today. But before we get to the talking,
Got a little explaining to do.
yeah, we got some explaining to do. This is our first ever podcast. And we feel like we are justified in talking on some issues. Not experts by any means.
None at all. But we've lived a couple lifetimes between the two of us. We haven't seen it all, but we've seen a lot. And we think we can add some truth,
What's that other
entertainment,
word? Entertainment
and value to your lives.
Yeah.
So we're here with truth, value, and entertainment. Trying to add that to your lives, add that to your morning routine, your nighttime wind down. We just hope to be in your lives in some way and impact that in a positive manner.
Something to listen to, something smooth.
Mm-hmm.
Something that brings your ears some joy from time to time.
You're doing chores around the house. You just turn on the TEV Podcast.
Yeah.
You're in the kitchen cooking a little dinner for your bae. Turn on the TEV Podcast. You don't want to talk about that one.
Yeah, this is we two enlightened brothers. And if you feel like you have a lack of friends that are not enlightened, we are your enlightened brothers, the enlightened ones.
We're your big bros over here.
Yeah. But we do have a word of the day, and that word, Chris, can you tell us what that word is, man?
The word of today is shenanigans.
Shenanigans. We're not going to go into much detail about shenanigans. Just be on high alert for shenanigans and things of that nature. Shenanigans in your life.
You will most certainly see shenanigans today.
You want to avoid shenanigans at all costs.
You try to, but they rear their ugly head all the time.
Yeah.
But we stay clear. We rise above it.
Yeah. But we do have an exciting podcast today, and we have a lot of things to talk about, a lot of things to unpack, and I can't find anyone else to do it with for the first one.
Except for me.
My brother Chris.
Oh, you're saying in a good way?
Yeah, in a good way.
Oh, you said I can't find anybody else to do it with.
Well,
like you said.
Well, I mean.
They kind of did.
Depending on, how you look at it.
You were the only one that called back.
Yeah. But yeah, Chris, tell us what's the first order of business. It looks kind of major, man. It looks kind of.
It is a bit. Well, it is a lot of major. I know everybody's probably heard by now. Actor Jonathan Majors from the Creed 3 franchise, from the Marvel Ant-Man franchise, has been accused of domestic abuse over this past week. He was charged last Saturday in Manhattan with assault and harassment with his alleged girlfriend, and he was taken into custody. And the victim herself was taken into the hospital. I believe she had minor injuries to her head and her neck, where there was some, reports of strangulation, battery. So, that puts Majors in a very, very dirty light, wouldn't you say?
Yeah. Just from some of the key words like strangulation, laceration, those are some heavy words, especially in that industry.
In any industry.
In any industry. But at the level he's
figure,
at,
he's at the peak, I think, popularity that he has experienced in his career. He's kind of, Michael B. Jordan's, best friend right now, and Michael B. Jordan, his status in the game right now. Like you said, just got the lead villain role in one of the biggest superhero franchises of all time. He had his, career pretty planned out for the, at least 10, 15 next years. So you hate to see something like this to find himself in that situation. But That's what we first thought, right? This past weekend, we had new information come out with his accuser saying that he did none of this. He made it all up. This is a facade. And Majors' team has even come out with text messages saying that this was false from the assailant, or excuse me, the accusers.
I mean, and his attorney, they're doing the right thing from a PR standpoint.
Certainly.
He's doing his job, and if he didn't, I hope Majors would find someone else. But if, I think they're doing all the right steps for sure. You want to get into the messages, or you want me to get into the messages about what was stated?
Yeah, we can go with it. Majors text there 8:58 a.m. It's kind of early in the day to be getting off those type of messages, but he asks her, did she leave the keys? Then he says goodbye. He wants nothing to do with her at this point, right? But she comes back later that day, 6 p.m., and explains that, she wants to know if he's okay when he gets this message. He gets some reassurance from her that he won't be charged for any of the shenanigans that happened that evening, and that acknowledged that he had to be arrested as protocol. And when they saw the injuries on her, that they knew that they had a fight and they had to do that just off the strength, essentially. She hates that he got put in that position, and she will make sure that nothing happens about this. But the part that stood out to me was, she said, I told them it was my fault for trying to grab your phone.
See, that's the problem.
What's that?
I just think it's like I'm just going to say it's an unwritten rule. This is not me talking. But we all know how, like, in relationships and how phones can be a very, if you will, controversial type of thing that people like to secure, even from their significant other, only due to the fact that there could be some self-incriminating evidence on, a person's phone. Not saying that although it does report that Majors was, well, not Majors, but the unknown woman saw another text from another woman.
Yeah, I believe that was the initial report.
Yeah, so
from Variety.
So it's not really specified if, Majors was talking to someone else. So I'm not going to hold that against Majors by no means at all. But what I will say, just to the general public, be careful what you entertain on your phones, especially if you're in a relationship. And this is how you look at it. If you have something on your phone that you don't want your significant other or your mom to see, 9 times out of 10 you probably don't need to be entertaining that.
If you got to turn your phone on D&D, not because you don't want to be bothered, but because you don't want people to see what's on your phone, don't do that. Don't engage in those activities. If you gotta, put your phone in your pocket every time your significant other walks in the room, it's not a good place to be. Shouldn't have to live looking over your shoulder. And by no means should a phone or what's on a phone lead to assault. So we do not approve of that act in any way, shape, or form.
Well, I'm not going to say I approve of the violence.
No, definitely not.
I don't approve of violence at all.
In any
to any form or fashion. But yeah, I mean, we all seen. I give props to Jonathan Majors and his workout routine and everything like that. That's a big dude, and the fact that something did break out between them, based on the text messages, we've heard that it's not going well, or the public's not taking that too well.
Yeah, I think that part about trying to grab it out of the phone and her apologizing for that, they spoke to this abusive cycle to where you're taking responsibility for things that you shouldn't do.
You the one that got the lacerations. The woman, the unknown woman, she's the one that got the lacerations, and
as a battered, person, there's proof evidence on your body. It's just an unfortunate situation all around. We hope that that's not that's not the situation that they were in, and if it was, we hope that she heals well and gets out of that situation, and that Majors can get some help.
Yeah, for sure. The investigators of the case, they were saying that it aligns well with domestic violent cases.
Yeah.
And I want the best for Majors, and I'll definitely be praying for that situation and hoping for the best outcome for Majors, because he's a major star on the rise. Well, I'm not even gonna say on the rise. He is a star in my eyes. He's definitely he's there, along with the greats. But yeah, man, that's some unfortunate things for her. I hope she heals up, and that whole thing gets cleared up. But we do have more serious business. Next order of business to talk about, and these things never should happen.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's even difficult to kind of speak about them. First off, what else can be said? It's happened so many times before. The discourse is relatively the same. I think it's just, it's disheartening to see it happen again, especially in this scenario. If you're not privy to what we're speaking to, March 27th, the Covenant School of Nashville, Tennessee was unfortunately targeted in a incident involving a firearm and a young individual, and 6 lives were unfortunately lost. Prayers out to their families. We ask for healing and peace in their tough times that they're going through right now.
Yeah, it's like we said, it's unfortunate that these things happen. They seem to be happening quite frequently. School shootings.
I believe this the 130th of the year so far.
Yeah,
we're in April.
Yeah,
which is not
130 you said for this year alone.
2023. Yep.
Wow, we are 4 months into this thing, man. This, this. I hate to keep saying this word, but we're in some unprecedented times. And that's all I could really say about that.
A little bit more about the incident. The shooter was Audrey Hell, who was a transgender former student of the Covenant School of Nashville. Apparently, she had been going through some undisclosed mental issues at the time of this incident, where she legally purchased some firearms and created a manifesto, a plan to, come and place harm on these innocent teachers and students. And I think it's definitely a hot media issue right now, considering all of the factors involved. You take the LGBTQ aspect of it, combine it with the Christian aspect of it, the school aspect of it, children that were involved. Obviously there's an incident involving firearms. It has all the recipes, a melting pot for politicization, I guess you can say. But I think Calvin, me and him were speaking before. We wanted to speak a little bit to the concept of love and hate. within these discourses. When you have so many, a mix of issues that people get riled up about, people get emotional behind. It takes a certain tactfulness to be able to navigate those issues in an efficient and effective way.
Well, first off, I would like to say that all the things that you brought up in regards to the love and hate aspect of this case, you got the LGBT aspect of it all. Um, you have the Christian aspect of it all. You have the gun violence of it all. And I think that's a depiction of how hostile it is right now in just the U.S. politics itself, and just the I guess just the how it is right now, just the atmosphere of it all is very thick. It's very thick.
There's definitely a lot of tension. Again,
a
lot of those issues that we spoke to are intertwined. They're and not even on a moral standpoint, but at a lot of times political standpoint, there are issues that probably shouldn't be politicized when they are, and that puts people in a very tough space when trying to fight for those issues, navigate through those issues, and I think this is a time where we really need to listen. We really need to hear what people are saying about these issues and not particularly close off ourselves because of any particular identity or more moral ideology that we have on these issues. I think it's definitely a time for communication and understanding.
Yeah. And just to clarify on that in regards to like we need to have more communication. So I believe that Audrey Hale she was had
she had an undisclosed mental issue.
Yeah. And I think mental health has been on the rise.
It's definitely a more hot topic.
Yeah, it's been very prevalent. And I think the way to help with mental health is to have conversations and not, enclose ourselves behind closed doors and just feel like we can deal with them on our own. It seems like she was getting help. She reached out to the doctor because it's on record. But what you think about it, what could have been done more? Could a simple conversation could have stopped this? Hey, how you doing? How you feeling today? Stuff like that. But on a more deeper level in regards to a case like this, obviously, the conversations about, the amendments, number 2, to be more specifically, talking code, obviously. Don't want to get demonetized.
Already off the first pilot episode, that's not a good place.
But people were talking about that and some common sense laws or something like that. Common sense
Act. Gun laws. And I think speaking to that, she did obtain per NPR the firearms in a legal manner, which is very difficult to hear. That even in a situation where, I think it's easy to talk down on those situations when the firearms were obtained illegally or in some fraudulent manner. But when somebody goes through the right channels to purchase the firearms, to get registered with those firearms, and things like this still happen, it puts a damper on the impact of the law and how much that plays into those situations. I do think some of those common sense laws can be of value if added, but the question, I guess, for me is how much.
Now my question: we've heard things about like Texas wanting to implement the teachers having guns and stuff like that. I'm not sure with the terminology for like what they
armed teachers.
Yeah, just armed teachers, something like that. But that debate always comes up Um, would it be feasible for teachers to have them? You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, if the teachers were armed in that particular situation, you know, could that have been prevented? The officers did an outstanding job, to my knowledge. I think it was like 14 minutes that from the call to them getting there and then stopping the active shooter. Yeah. I think that I believe that's good numbers, good timing. But I guess the only case I can make for the Texas armed teachers, if you will, is the fact that they may have stopped it sooner.
Yeah, I mean, I think in a common sense standpoint, right? I don't know if the solution to gun issues is to put more guns in the situation. Yeah, I think, you know, you have trained professionals for that. You know, it's part of the common sense common sense laws are, you know, indoctrinated in the idea where security is upgraded. You know, there's a lot more regulation on the type of weapons that can be purchased. So things of that nature, I think, kind of encapsulate a more feasible, you know, type of environment that we want to be in. I question if even parents would feel safe sending their children to school knowing that the teachers are armed.
Yeah. Well, if the parents knew that extensive training, additional training was needed for teachers to have it, I think it could not persuade in a sense, but make the parents feel a little bit more safer. But the whole notion with that, I guess the caveat with that is that you never know if a teacher is gonna flip, or if a student's gonna get the gun or whatever, and you know, have their way, if you will. But it's definitely something that I know the option is not for America is not getting rid of, you know, firearms. That's not feasible. That's not, to a lot of Americans, they're gonna say that's shenanigans to
that's true.
Get rid of guns. Because, you know, they believe it's their right, it's their birthright, and I respect that. You know, I definitely respect that. You know, having firearms and everything. But that's definitely not getting off the table. Now, what it would look like to like compromise in a sense, or come to some type of agreement, especially with these school shootings, because, you know, in a utopian scenario, we don't want these things to happen. Definitely. And they shouldn't happen. But from a realistic standpoint, we got to figure out what we can do to at least lessen these things. And to be truthfully honest, I don't know what that can be. But that's just something that I hope through time that we can, like, you know, fix.
Yeah, I mean, I think a harsh reality is, you know, these things, obviously they've happened before, they're happening now. And, you know, unfortunately they're going to happen again. You know, obviously we seek to implement ways to stop things like this from recurring. And, you know, we've implemented regulations, laws, acts in the past. And some of them have been effective, some of them have not. So I think it's largely a trial and error type of thing. You know, you implement it and see if it slows it down, if, you know, the ways that these incidents happen change in any nature, if, you know, the number of fatalities decrease. You know, that's something that we hope to, you know, obviously get to, you know, zero if possible. But yeah, I think, you know, there's small victories to be had with these, you know, any regulations, any laws that get passed towards this. issue. But yeah, I mean, just a bad situation overall. Definitely rest in peace to all the victims. Yeah.
And a quick question,
What's that?
more so pertaining to the manifesto, which I know they haven't released yet. But do you think it would be beneficial to release the manifesto and get like an actual understanding of why Audrey Hale did this?
I think it's twofold. You look at some of the Columbine incident. They became kind of a folk hero type of characters in that, I guess, community, you could say, kind of idolized for their viewpoints, their standpoints on their place in the world, their view of other people. Because the again, a harsh reality is there are people out here who resonate with individuals like that. They're not particularly, I guess, one-offs. So you do risk kind of igniting individuals like that when you do release a manifesto or any insight into what that person was thinking. And that's with any type of media, any type of expression. But I think it's particularly harmful when lives were lost. So personally, I don't think that releasing a manifesto, especially at this time, this early in the process, would be beneficial. But I could see, I see the public outroar for wanting to know, the specifics. I could see or understand the what you would call, I guess, media suppression of the information that is vital to a case like this. So I definitely understand both sides. Personally, I don't think it's necessary. I would assume you're in the same boat.
From my standpoint, it doesn't necessarily have to be released. But I know that in this society, people we are always solution based. We want answers. We want to know why. And I think just as human beings in general, like, we're just curious by nature. So I think just to satisfy that, I would say yes. I believe that they're going to release it. For me personally, I don't care if they release it or not. I don't have to know the thoughts. I just know based on action that her message was clear. I think she needed help. I think she.
That's the biggest cry for help.
Yeah, and, when you make a rash move like that, and you take lives, and you put other people in jeopardy, and that's what happens when you don't deal with your own problems. They lash out and it hurts other people. It takes people away from their actual personal time, like all the officers, firefighters, ambulance, whoever else that was on staff, CNN, Fox News covering it. Like, all their attention is drawn to that now when it could be drawn to something else.
I think it's also important, like you said, she did reach out to a health provider.
Yeah.
So I think it's important, when people do make an attempt to communicate that they are going through something, to listen. I think that's, even people who are not medical professionals, if your friends come to you with issues that they're going through, do not just brush them off, with, that's just how Calvin is. We all go through things. If people are coming to you with issues, we all have different gifts, different talents. It's up for us to, utilize them to help others, or to find people who can utilize their own talents to help them. So definitely, take heed in situations like this.
Yeah, so you bring up an interesting point about that, like, gifts and things like that. If I just feel like people need to affirm those things in people. Like if it's something a person is struggling or whatnot, encourage them, lift them up, tell them they got a beautiful smile or whatever. Something that could get them on their way. And if they actually are gifted and you notice it, let them know. I think, that's I think that would be very. It seems like nothing. Like when people do that, it seems like nothing at all.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like stuff like that goes a very long way.
Small affirmation.
Yeah, I think those be the things that people remember.
Definitely. Yeah.
Like when they talk about you to someone else, like they be like, yeah, I remember so and so like uplifted me or something like that. And I'm not saying that this Hale didn't have this in her life, but I think it would have done some good.
No, we can all stand to be uplifted every now and then.
But yes, we are praying for those families. And I hope they they get some
peace.
Yeah, get some peace. Yeah. But in more lighter news, well, it's not really lighter news, but it's lighter news.
This is a dark episode. Sorry for coming in with all this darkness.
Yeah, it's just this week in particular, we've had some. The news hasn't been favorable.
Yeah, it's just been not much entertainment, but we have some truth and value for you this week.
Yeah, but we have the Donald Trump indictment. The first former president, to have an indictment, man. That is sick.
He's a man of shenanigans.
A lot.
Yeah,
a lot of shenanigans.
I think this incident, or the incident that has brought on this indictment is probably Hall of Fame shenanigans, if I say so myself.
Some of the best we've seen so far.
Yeah, I mean it involves six figures in money, adult actresses.
I would think he would have spent a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean
he's a billionaire. He's a billionaire.
Yeah, I mean I will say I think you're seeing this indictment now because he did not put up enough money. Yeah, I think
he didn't even give her enough money to buy a decent house.
Nah, it's not. Especially in New York, that's a little apartment.
I mean, maybe he would have gave her like maybe 10 mil, a slight little 10 mil.
I think she's still talking.
I don't know. That's tough.
It'll be a 2024 release on this. She would have waited a year.
Push back a year. that junk only lasted. I don't know how long it lasted. I would imagine that 100.
I think.
Was it?
Yeah, the money was put in her or paid to her in 2016.
2016.
Yeah. So.
Oh, she did good.
Oh, I mean, I believe she came out earlier, or there were allegations, I guess, that he had paid her off, but they weren't substantial until I guess the indictment came. So for all those who are not aware, Mr. Trump has been indicted on 30 counts, or excuse me, more than 30 counts. I don't have an exact number at the moment, but he's been indicted on 30 counts of business fraud. Would you like to tell everybody our fun legal fact of the day about hush money?
Oh, I believe hush money is not illegal.
It's not. I didn't know that. I thought that was extortion.
I don't think hush money is legal by any means. For the ones that are listening, please fact check me. But I don't think hush money is illegal at all. I think so one of Trump's team, his attorney paid off the woman,
Miss Daniels,
Miss Daniels. Let's go with that. Yeah. Very promiscuous.
For some alleged shenanigans between the two of them.
Yeah. So he his attorney paid off the Miss Daniels with his own money, and then Donald Trump allegedly reimbursed him. Yes, allegedly reimbursed him for quadruple that. What was it, like 400?
Yeah,
420 grand?
Yeah, 420 grand. See, that's the type of, payout.
Yeah, that she wanted.
That she needed.
She got jealous.
Yeah, I would have too.
Yeah, she said this is some shenanigans.
This is some shenanigans for sure. But yeah, that 400 grand was written off on their accounting as legal reasons, and I'm no CPA.
Yeah,
I'm not qualified to speak on this, I guess, from a financial standpoint, but I'm pretty well versed enough to know that shenanigans involving adult actresses aren't in the consequential paying off of them are not the best legal reasons to have using your campaign finances.
My thing is, man, all this stuff is so timely. If I'm Trump, like what a time to be alive, right?
I mean, I think to that point he's kind of reveling in it. This is I wouldn't say he embraces it.
The fact that he posted or said he said something or he posted something on Twitter about I'm going to be indicted or something.
Yeah, I think
just acknowledging some type of defeat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we all know he's a character, and I don't want to speak for him, but I believe that he understands a lot of the U.S. to be against him as a moral person first and foremost, and as a political figure as well. So I think it's interesting when you think of we're right in the beginning stages of presidential nominations for 2024. Does this hurt his chances at all?
I feel like people, based on what we've seen in 2016, I think people really are infatuated by this man. They
and his shenanigans.
A lot of people idolize this man. Now I'm not gonna lie. I think some of the things that he did while he was president, were good. I'm gonna give credit where credit is due. I think that President Trump at the time, he may have said some things that was kind of like, come on, man, you don't got to say it like that, or you don't have to say it at all. But in regards to hurting his chances, I can see it hurting his chances, but I can also see it as something that can propel his chances, right?
Yeah.
I think it can, if anything, it's like the old saying, like any publicity is good publicity, right?
Yeah.
So it's like the fact that he is in the light, and based on how he handles himself, based on how the verdict comes out, I feel like for some odd reason, I feel like it will still work out in his favor to like win the primaries for the Republican nomination, whatnot. But I mean, I don't know. What you think?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think it's important to note that legally he can still, run for president. So he's not bound in that sense. And considering his likely opponent for the GOP nomination would be DeSantis. I think DeSantis he's a reputable figure.
Respectable.
Within that camp, but I think with these indictments, with I guess how Trump's first term kind of ended, that's something to rally behind, for that political party. I definitely don't see it hurting his chances at all. I think he might landslide victory in this GOP nomination.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised at all. Just from the standpoint that everybody in that arena has something on them. Like they have some type of.
Well, yeah,
there's some level of corruption
definitely
at every level, especially in politics. Like no one is like perfect. I'm not perfect. You're not perfect, but those guys have like. They've done some. Yeah, done some things.
I think to get to a certain level of success, especially when you're speaking to at a Trump level of billions of dollars. There's people who've had to go behind their back. There's probably shady moves, and that's not just a Trump thing. I think that's a that's a just rule of life when you are accumulating that much capital and resources.
Yeah. But I mean, I don't know what to really make of it. Like, I don't know if he's gonna come out of this unscathed with nothing, attached. Like, is he gonna come out clean? Now, what I will say, I think it's gonna be hard to connect because everything is just speculated and implied. Nothing is like set in stone. Like evidence is like, oh yeah, the intent of this was to pay off that lady. Mm-hmm. Okay, so what can be proven is the fact that the lawyer paid Miss Daniels, mm-hmm. $130,000, right? So that can be proven, but the intent of that can't, unless Miss Daniels state otherwise, that it was for this or for that, whatnot. Mm-hmm. But in regards to proving that Trump, that former President Trump, told his lawyer to pay the woman, they're going to have to dig up some serious files like text messages, emails, phone calls,
transactions,
like bank statements, all that type stuff to really prove that is associated with the $130,000. Mm-hmm. And even that $130,000, with the standpoint that hush money is not illegal, that's going to be hard. And the fact that the only thing that they have is the is charging for the fraudulent
about business.
Yeah, fraudulent reporting, business. Yeah, reporting. And that's the only thing that could really get him on, and they're trying to connect all those things to that. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm not saying that the affair. I'm not in agreement with the affair. I'm not in agreement with all the fraudulent activity. By no means. I'm not in agreement to paying someone hush money.
I am.
Hey, it's needed for some things. For some shenanigans.
Yeah, some shenanigans. Some shenanigans you find yourself in.
It is needed.
You gotta slide a little under the table.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll be telling all my business.
Shenanigans. You a little flip on that. You see that?
I like that. But yeah, man, it's gonna be hard to tie all that together. Sorry, a little southern accent for you.
A little draw.
But yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see. I think, what is it? Tuesday.
Yeah.
This upcoming Tuesday. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see. I'm not gonna be tuning in like that, but I'll hear about it in the wind.
Yeah, I'll definitely. Whenever we have some big, news, some charges either dropped or pressed further, we'll probably bring it back up. But
yeah,
I have no more interest in talking about this topic.
So I have no more interest in talking about Trump and his shenanigans with women and all this type of stuff. But we do have another order of business, don't we?
Yes, we do. The greatest, the GOAT of his generation, in my eyes.
Big statement.
The most electric, exciting, well-rounded player in the NFL, one Mr. Lamar Jackson. Pay him what he's owed. He's done more than enough. He's won an MVP. He's produced playoff berths. Pay him. Somebody. Not
anybody.
Trump pay him the 140.
Oh no, Trump gonna give him that 130.
Yeah, Trump gonna give him that 130.
That'll suffice.
That'll suffice. But yeah,
he is worth 130.
Not the Trump impression.
But
yeah, Lamar Jackson is up for a contract renewal. But just this past week, he released the announcement that he is finally seeking a trade from the Ravens organization.
That's happy.
It's definitely, the one organization who did take a chance on him while he was being, I guess, doubted by the other 31 organizations. So, definitely probably put him in a difficult place. But, when it's time, it's time. When you feel like you're not getting what you deserve and they are not willing to, bend on that front, sometimes you got to leave.
Well, it's kind of hurtful. But the fact that he's requesting a trade to leave the Baltimore Ravens, I just felt like they had so much potential, especially with him leading the team at the forefront. And the fact that they don't want to pay the man, what he's owed or what he feel like he's owed is a slap in the face, because it discredits everything that you have done beforehand.
Definitely, yeah.
And it's like, so what I've done in the past is not good enough.
Mm-hmm.
I've been, the rushing leading quarterback for a while now.
MVP.
MVP. I've been, throwing the ball at a high percentage. I don't know what his percentage is. I assume it's
probably mid-high 60s.
60s, somewhere around there. But like throwing the ball with the best of them, strong arm.
Definitely.
And I know for black QBs at least, they always challenge like the intellectual aspect. But I always felt that he's just like
above and beyond.
Yeah, like he makes good plays. He makes very good plays, smart plays on the field. In my eyes, top 10 highlights every.
All time.
As Stephen A. say, he's box office. So, in my eyes, I feel like he sells tickets. He sells tickets, man. I don't see why. Like, because he's so marketable. In addition to that, I don't see why they're not willing to make that investment or make that bet on Lamar Jackson.
Well, I think, for me, I'm okay. Okay, the Ravens, they've had him for, 4 years now, coming up on 5. I could understand if they feel like their team is stagnant with him. I still don't think there's any team who would let their, 26-year-old star quarterback leave without putting up a fight to get them. So I could understand if the Ravens decide, okay, we don't really want to bring him back. But I think when a lot of the other teams in the NFL who are in need of a quarterback, when you have a former MVP who's in his prime, athletically, mentally, and you openly say we're not interested, I think that's the scary part for me. And it even leads me to a question of, if the Ravens don't want to re-sign him, if all the quarterback needy teams don't want him, where does Lamar go next year? Is he going to stay with the Ravens and just not play? Will he request a release and not play? Will he be, quote-unquote, blackballed from the NFL? If nobody wants to meet to his terms, will he, bring his requirements lower? I feel like Lamar's in a tough spot right now, and he definitely has some things to ponder.
Yeah, I think it definitely shows. I could be incorrect about this, but I think it definitely shows where QBs like himself stand within the NFL franchise in regards to requesting max dollar deals, and the fact that no one is really willing to give him that. I could make the comparison of Cam Newton in a roundabout way. I think at a certain point, people wasn't really taking him. Well, they was taking him seriously. But I feel like after that year, they went to the Super Bowl. I think against the Broncos, I believe.
Well, yeah, I think Cam is such an interesting character, especially in his later career, where he kind of started doing things his own way. He didn't particularly conform to what the typical NFL quarterback would conform to. He was obviously vocal, kind of a homegrown talent playing in that South, NFC South. And I think it's kind of, reminiscent to Lamar. He's kind of his own, a trailblazer in his own way. Obviously, for his athletic ability, there's, Michael Vick is probably the closest thing we've seen to him. But even in how he carries himself off the field, he has a certain swag on the field. Off the field, he's hanging with Kodak. He's at the gas station, posting, doing photo shoots and stuff. He's kind of like a down to earth type of guy. Not in the Hollywood Hills and not in Aspen skiing. He's doing things a different type of way than you would expect a multi-million-dollar man to do.
Yeah.
So I think in that same that vein that you bring up, him and Cam are kind of similar. And you could say Cam got kind of blackballed out of the NFL in a way. To not even be on somebody's roster, I think it's kind of hurtful to see.
Yeah, I'm gonna make I don't know how outlandish this claim is, but I'm just gonna say it anyway. Patrick Mahomes.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like he's deserving of $500 million deal for what, 5 years?
I think it was an extension on his current deal, so it probably would have been. Yeah, probably in that 7 to 8 year range.
7 to 8 year range.
Yeah.
And, I feel like he's well deserving of that. And he's proven himself. And I think the key word from there is he's proven himself.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the question is, what you can argue, has Lamar Jackson proven himself? And what I mean by that, Patrick Mahomes has gotten championships.
Mm-hmm.
But also, Patrick Mahomes had a very stacked team.
Most certainly, yeah.
I can't really. I can make an argument for the Ravens and Lamar Jackson, but I feel like with what he has and what he's been, having to play with, the cards he's been dealt, I think he's, in my eyes,
exceeded in my eyes.
He's, especially, and you brought this up, a couple of conversations ago in the past about like when he got in the league, the odds were stacked against him.
Mm-hmm.
They wanted him to play receiver or something else, saying that he wasn't cerebral enough to play the QB position. But despite all that, he played the QB position, and now those same analysts are talking about him in the highlights and talking about his game, talking about how exciting it is to watch and all that stuff. And imagine if he would have played something else. I'm pretty sure it still would have been like a wow factor in that sense, but it's not as wowing as it is now, if that's a word.
I think it's very motivating to see somebody like him, who had at that point going into that draft had proven himself enough to win the Heisman Trophy, to get the highest honor you can get as a college football player, and to still be doubted by the people who would, kind of control your livelihood. But to, look that doubt in the face, stare it down and say, I'm going to stand. I'm not going to waver on what you think my abilities are because I know what I can do. And he did that. One team took a chance on him, and, he obviously went there, performed well, even got MVP, again, the highest honor at the highest level. For me, there should be no question about what he can do, how he can do it. He's shown you, amidst the doubt, amidst the hate, amidst every single obstacle you could mentally throw at a man, even physically throw at a man, to have him be denied at these two stops. But I think that speaks to his persistence. I think it speaks to his strength and mindset and who he is, which is very admirable for him. And I think he'll get through this as he got through his first situation in the draft, out on top. Found himself at the top very often.
Yeah, like always with all athletes in that situation, I always wish the best for them, and I wish, I don't know if the players really come out and say this, but I'm not a player. I will say it for them. But we understand that the NFL is not as player-driven like the NBA. And I feel like once the NFL becomes more player driven, like the NBA, and allow these players to actually control and dictate, have some say in their life in regards to, their financials and what they're worth. Now, I'm not saying that the guy that never gets in the game has that same power, but if you have a star player that you are marketing as like come to buy Ravens ticket, I feel like he has some say in what he should get, especially if he's that guy. Like if he could be the sixth man, but if he's in a commercial or he's on a billboard or something like that, giving good numbers to the team, I feel like there's room for negotiation.
Oh, definitely. I mean, I think even from like you said, a marketing standpoint, he's probably top 5 like marketable quarterbacks in terms of his play style, the numbers he puts up, his charisma on and off the field. He's just a very likable guy, and he does very little to bring a negative perception upon himself, which I think he's kind of getting for holding out on his desired negotiation, which I can't blame him for. Like, you've performed to a certain level, you believe you're owed this. That's fine with me. But I think speaking to kind of that leverage that the top NFL players have, I guess it comes with winning the Super Bowl is I guess the flag that you can hold against Lamar. Because I think he's done everything else.
Yeah, that's the only thing left for him to do in a sense is get a Super Bowl. I think just in any aspect of sports in general, you want to, if you're believing that you are that guy and you want that amount of money, I think just to be fair, you do have to win it all. Like in the NBA, to put a stamp on one's greatness, you got to win the championship. You look at Mike, you look at Kobe, you look at LeBron, Magic, Larry.
You was gonna stick a little LeBron.
It doesn't stop.
Little LeBron.
Oh, I gotta put LeBron. They got to put a stamp on their greatness by winning the thing that defines a champion, that defines a great player. Tom Brady, like his greatness is defined by his championships, his mindset, like to become a champion, like Super Bowl champion every year. Now I believe Lamar Jackson has every capacity. He has the capacity, the skill set, everything to be a Super Bowl champion. And I feel like that would just put a stamp on his greatness. Furthermore, he's already great. But like if he were to retire tomorrow, I'd be like, he had a very good career. But to put a stamp on everything he has done so far to solidify that greatness and to be talked about like in every room, every conversation. When you talk about QBs, he has to come up in that conversation. Obviously, Patrick Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady,
the guys.
They're going to be talked about just because Peyton Manning, they're going to be talked about. But for I don't want Lamar Jackson to be that guy like, oh yeah, what about Lamar Jackson?
Like even like you said, he's like a Mike Vick type of athlete.
Yeah.
Even the way we talk about Mike Vick is like, oh man, like we missed out, man. Like,
yeah.
So I would hate to see him end up in that situation, especially with all the talent. He's proven himself to be elite. So we definitely want to see that situation resolved as soon as possible.
Yeah, I'm sick of all these shenanigans, man, and that's going on with playing around with people's money, especially when they deserve it. But I wish Lamar Jackson the best, and he's a good representation of the NFL and all the more. But I believe that concludes everything we have to talk about today.
It does.
This has been an enjoyable fun-filled, entertaining.
I guess.
Let me start over. This has been a truthful, entertaining, and valuable.
Valuable. Yeah.
Those three components. This is what this show is representing, and going to represent it. More episodes to come. And I thank you, Chris.
Oh, I thank you, Calvin. This is, an amazing environment to foster communication, growth, innovation of thought. So just happy to be here. Happy to share this moment, this first episode with you, and to all our listeners, we thank you for tuning in, and we wish you well.
Yes. Have a TEV day.
That's horrible.
Yeah. That's all I can think of.
Have a TEV day.
Have a TEV day. We're gonna make it work.
We'll make it work. We'll come back with something next week.